Do you love me or not?
I don't.
It really looks like everything's starting to line up for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4 to finally happen, because Kirsten Dunst just said she's totally open to returning if MJ and Peter Parker become parents. And honestly, that might be the perfect story for a proper comeback. It feels like all the stars are quietly aligning for Sam Raimi and Tobey to bring back that original magic. So let's break down everything new we've heard about Spider-Man 4, the story ideas floating around, and why now might finally be the right time. Tobey Maguire's run as Spider-Man remains one of the most iconic parts of superhero movie history. Before the MCU even existed, before we had multiple Spider-Men, cinematic universes, or multiverse timelines, there was Tobey.
How'd you do that?
Work out, plenty of rest, eat your green vegetables.
He was Peter Parker for an entire generation. Back in the early 2000s, when Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy hit theaters, superhero movies weren't guaranteed box office gold. Tobey, along with Raimi's direction, helped turn them into blockbuster events. His trilogy, alongside Fox's X-Men films and Blade, basically paved the way for everything Marvel and DC are doing today. But the sad part is, his time as Spider-Man ended way too soon. Spider-Man 4 was supposed to come out in 2011, and Raimi had big plans for it. Sony, however, decided to reboot the entire franchise instead, leading to Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man just a year later. It was one of those Hollywood what-if moments. What if we actually got to see Tobey's older, wiser Peter Parker face new villains and deal with the next stage of life? For years, that idea just lived in fan discussions and concept art until now, because suddenly, the story and the right people might actually be coming together. The thing is, Tobey's Spider-Man already made his grand return, and it was a massive success. When he and Garfield appeared in Spider-Man No Way Home in 2021, the entire world went wild. It was one of those theater moments that people will remember forever. Fans cheering, laughing, even tearing up. Maguire's Peter came across as older, calmer, almost like a mentor, and his chemistry with Holland and Garfield was flawless. That movie pulled in almost $2 billion globally, even without China's box office. Critics loved it, with a 93% Rotten Tomatoes score, and fans loved it even more, 97% audience rating. Tobey didn't even have the biggest role, he was more of a spiritual guide, but his presence made that movie feel complete. It reminded everyone just how much emotional weight his Spider-Man still carries after all these years. And it's not just fans who want more. Both Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi have openly said they'd be up for another round. After No Way Home, Raimi jumped back into the Marvel sandbox with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which made nearly $1 billion worldwide. When asked about possibly doing Spider-Man 4 again, Raimi said, "I think all things are possible." He didn't say he's working on it, but he made it clear that the idea excites him and that he'd love to reunite with Tobey and the original cast. Tobey feels the same way. He's kept a low profile since his original trilogy, doing only a handful of films, but when No Way Home came around, you could tell he loved slipping back into that red and blue suit. He later said he'd jump at the chance to play Spider-Man again, no matter the format, a cameo, a new film, anything. For him, Spider-Man isn't just a role, it's a legacy. And now there's Mattson Tomlin, one of the writers behind The Batman, stepping in with what might be the perfect story. Tomlin has been openly advocating for a Spider-Man 4 script centered around Peter Parker as a father. He's even said he's trying to make it happen. His vision imagines Tobey's Peter juggling life as a husband and dad while still being Spider-Man. It's the kind of story that feels both new and nostalgic, seeing an old Peter who's been through it all but still puts the mask on because that's just who he is. In No Way Home, Tobey's Peter hinted that things with MJ were still going strong, which means they could easily build on that. Imagine a film where Peter and MJ are married, raising a kid in a world that still needs Spider-Man. It would instantly separate Spider-Man 4 from anything the MCU has done with Holland's younger version. We've never seen Peter Parker deal with parenthood in live action before, and it's such a natural next step for Maguire's version. Tomlin, for his part, has been realistic about it. He said that a movie like this involves a lot of moving pieces: studios, licensing, and politics, but the key line was this: "I haven't gotten a no yet." And in Hollywood, not getting a no is sometimes the best news you can get. It means conversations are still happening behind the scenes. Now, one possible hurdle is that the MCU already has Tom Holland's Spider-Man leading the charge, and Sony and Marvel might not want two live-action Spider-Men at once. But the good news is, the MCU is heading toward a soft reboot with Avengers: Secret Wars in 2027. That movie is expected to shake everything up. Holland has even said that he'd like to see Miles Morales take over the Spider-Man mantle afterward. So if Holland's Peter steps aside and Miles becomes the MCU's Spider-Man, that would leave the door wide open for Tobey's universe to exist separately again, especially under Sony. No crossover confusion, no competition, just Raimi's older Spider-Man continuing his story in his own world. That setup could make Spider-Man 4 not just possible, but perfectly timed. And honestly, it would feel like everything had come full circle. Tobey started it all. He showed us what superhero movies could be when they had real emotion and character. Letting him close his story as an older, battle-worn Peter Parker, now a husband and father, would be the most poetic way to honor that legacy. Kirsten Dunst seems totally on board too. During an interview on The Soups Show, she said she'd love to come back for a Spider-Man 4, where MJ and Peter have kids. She joked about how fun it'd be to see them juggling parenthood while Peter still tries to save New York. But the best part is that she wasn't hesitant. She sounded genuinely excited about the idea. That's huge because if Raimi and Maguire were to reunite, having Dunst return is pretty much essential. Dunst also pointed out that it's been long enough that audiences would actually want to see what happened to Peter and MJ after all these years. The end of No Way Home basically confirmed they're still together, and that alone gives Spider-Man 4 a perfect emotional entry point. Now, if you think about how that could play out, Peter trying to balance family life while villains old and new start resurfacing, it writes itself. It's classic Spider-Man, but from a perspective we haven't seen yet. He's older, wiser, maybe even a bit slower, but still carrying that same sense of responsibility. And imagine MJ watching him struggle with being both a dad and a hero, trying to protect their family from the consequences of his double life. That's a Spider-Man story with real emotional weight. What makes this even more exciting is how Raimi's tone could fit perfectly with that concept. His movies always had a unique blend of heart, humor, and horror, that slightly dark, stylized world that still felt human. Raimi could easily capture the struggles of Peter as a father while still giving fans the crazy, action-packed Spider-Man moments they love. Even Sam Raimi himself has said he's open to revisiting his Spider-Man universe. After No Way Home, he admitted he once thought it was impossible, but now that the multiverse exists, anything is possible. That's the exact quote fans needed to hear. And with Marvel and Sony both experimenting with crossovers, spin-offs, and alternate universes, the door's wide open for older characters to get one more story. So right now, all the main players, Tobey, Kirsten, and Raimi, are interested. The perfect writer, Mattson Tomlin, has a story that fits like a glove. The timing works, since the multiverse is already a massive theme across superhero films. The only thing left is for Sony to actually greenlight it. If it happens, it would probably come after the MCU's multiverse saga wraps up and Tom Holland finishes Spider-Man Brand New Day in 2026. That way, Maguire's film wouldn't compete but instead act as a legacy chapter, a heartfelt, grown-up Spider-Man story that celebrates where it all began. For now, Dunst's comments have definitely reignited hope. She said, "I feel like that would be an interesting movie, right? Me and Tobey doing that again, with kids?" It's such a simple quote, but it says everything fans needed to hear. She's not only open to it, she wants it. And maybe that's the final piece Raimi's Spider-Man 4 always needed. Time. Time for fans to miss it, time for the superhero genre to mature, and time for the right story to finally emerge. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.